At Munro Associates, we've seen the evolution of the automotive industry for the past 30 to 40 years. Myself, with 17 years at Munro Associates, I've come from a background of benchmarking vehicles where you'd have hundreds of stamp parts for where this front giga casting is, hundreds and hundreds of parts in the back. And the level of refinement and integration is incredible. And before we get into where the battery interface is, Tesla is not wasting any opportunity to integrate the casting for multiple mounting features.
For me, a basically all-in Tesla investor, today is an amazing day. We will take a look at Tesla Model Y 4680 structural pack being taken out by Munro Associates. This is a video from Munro Live YouTube channel.
First of all, it is just phenomenal that these seats are mounted to this battery pack and we were able to drop it from the car. Also, there's a lot of features with the carpet and the wiring and the routing that made this possible. And we're going to hop off and kind of walk through that.
The seats being attached directly onto the battery pack is nothing short of amazing, but this is just so Tesla. It reduces the time to manufacture the car. It improves the safety of the car also. It reduces parts needed to make the vehicle, which makes it possible to make the car faster, which increases profit margins, which therefore increases Tesla's stock price. All this is why I only hold Tesla stock, among many other reasons. Especially full self-driving, which is why I believe Tesla stock will go to $10,000 per share by 2030.
It's a multi-piece tailor-welded blank design. So here's a tailor-welded blank. This front portion right here is actually thicker than this thinner portion right here. And here's where the blank is welded before it's stamped. Then it comes to this point and it gets thicker for the portion that's running for the seat structure and the seat riser portion. And then it gets thin from here to the back. On the Model 3 and the Model Y, these were threaded fasteners. They're now SPRs, self-piercing rivets. This allows them to be low profile. And then the seal is not an RTV seal, so I expected it to be a sticky seal. This is all that is protecting water from intruding from the outside of the car into the inside of the car.
Everything so far is very impressive. Now, one thing that I would like to point out, so this whole thing protects water from going in from outside to inside. Now, see how there are creases right here? This happens when you put the top of a car down and there's a lot of pressure and then you see this whole thing compress. However, right here, see there's a lot of room for this to still give in. Like here you see clear creases and right here it's clearly compressed. Right here it doesn't seem that it was compressed much, maybe just a tiny little bit. I would hope, and this is of course early production, so you definitely expect issues, and I hope this is something that Tesla is watching, which I'm sure they are. And hopefully this does not create any water issues, having water come from outside to inside.
And additional 2 bolts that are used to hold the center console in place in order to make it easier to deck this. Once the battery is installed, the center console is slid forward on rails to engage with the instrument panel. And you can see there then that those 2 bolt interfaces now are engaging with a bracket that's on the battery pack itself.
It may not look like it, but I have over 10 years of direct experience with manufacturing. My dad owns a manufacturing facility, and I spent so much time in those 10 years, actually more than 10 years, I think, seeing how things are made from prototype to then a consumable product. And these little things, it doesn't look like much when you take just one thing like that, but then you take tens of those improvements, hundreds of those improvements, thousands of those improvements over a long period of time, all of a sudden you get such different results, everything becomes so much easier, which is why I invest in Tesla, because Elon very clearly understands that the actual product is not the product that you are selling, but the manufacturing process. That is a much more difficult part. But also watching the defect rate, which is a big deal. You want that carefully under control, and you can never have zero defects, no matter how hard you try. Most 10 years were difficult, and you always have something breaking down. Something just does not work. There's always problems, always issues, which is why all other manufacturers are having issues. Of course, Tesla is having some issues too, but those little things, they make a big difference. And that's why I invest in Tesla over than me believing that Tesla will 10x at least to $10,000 per share by 2030 because of full self-driving. I got a video that I did recently, 18 minutes, no takeovers, full self-driving in San Francisco. You can take a look at that. That's a pretty good one. Or browse the channel. There's quite a few videos now on the channel.
But right here is where the rear gigacasting is. And notice that the shape, the witness mark from the pressure of that gigacasting pressing against the seal is really unique. And the one area we noticed where it could be a potential problem is right here where it transitions from this flat surface down. There's not as much of a witness mark. So we were wondering if this wasn't pushing as hard here. So you notice this is smashed real hard. So it had a real good compression. And then right here, it still has a lot of push and compliance to give.
It could be fine, but there's likely to be an issue where we have to, hopefully Tesla monitors that very carefully.
Where Sandy Munro's at, he's still in Italy for work. The fact that this console slides back and forth is really kind of wild. All right, now we're from a background of benchmarking vehicles where you'd have hundreds of stamp parts for where this front gigacasting is, hundreds and hundreds of parts in the back. And the level of refinement and integration is incredible. And before we get into where the battery interface is, Tesla is not wasting any opportunity to integrate the casting for multiple mounting features. And Eric, if you can come over here. Even this small little fin right there, there's a little fin of aluminum
Nice.
with two riv nuts, with two bolts holding this bracket that's holding the low voltage line, the high voltage line for the AC compressor, as well as a thermal tube. It's just amazing the amount of integration that we're seeing here. So Julian, you want to actually hit on where the pack interfaced with the castings in the side.
Sure. So as we were previously stating on the near the penthouse for the battery itself, we had the 4 bolts. You can see up here the matching holes through which the bolts were inserted. So those go right here into this sort of lateral portion of the rear gigacasting. In order to access those, we did have to remove the rear seat, which sits on top of the black steel bracket that you can see. In addition, over here there were a few low voltage connections, as well as the charge port connection going into the battery that needed to be removed. But overall, it was a fairly minimal process to disengage all the connections in the rear here.
It's really impressive how far Tesla has come as an EV manufacturer and how far legacy automakers are still lagging behind. This is why Teslas are wildly profitable while legacy makers are struggling to make any profit, even with government incentives for which Tesla is no longer eligible for. And this, I believe, is going to continue. Tesla is clearly the most innovative automaker there is, and perhaps ever has been. And this is one of the big reasons why I just own Tesla stock. I own real estate, I own other private assets, but when it comes to stocks that you can buy on a public exchange, Tesla is the only one that I own. The progress that Tesla's making in manufacturing just keeps stunning me. And I really appreciate it, especially having over 10 years of direct experience in manufacturing. And now I also sometimes some people wondering what else I did before. I was in e-commerce and also marketing, and now I'm also in healthcare. And you know, this just stuns me how much progress Tesla is making, and all those legacy automakers are just not catching up. And it's not that the other ones are not smart. They are smart. Manufacturing is incredibly difficult, and you will find some very smart people in manufacturing. And me being a serial millionaire entrepreneur, I really appreciate the difficulty and the sophistication that Tesla is achieving here. It's very, very, very impressive.
We're also going to do a comparison of what has changed. When we opened the frunk, I noticed that the super manifold and super bottle and the high voltage AC compressor, heat pump, they've already made some improvements on how the routing of the high voltage line goes in the bay. So Tesla is always continually improving, and we're going to document all of those micro level improvements from our Model Y we received in 2020 to this very, mid-year 2022 Model Y. How amazing it is to see a vehicle with no floor and the seats mounted to the structure on the top of a pack. Julian, do you have any final thoughts on this whole process, getting this out, and what you think?
Overall, it was much more straightforward than I was expecting. I think it was, especially when we had it removed and took a look at how it could lift back up into the vehicle, seeing what the assembly process may look like, I think it's incredibly well done. There are a lot of considerations here just in terms of ease of assembly that I think were achieved very well, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's inside the battery pack itself.
Yeah.
In short, Tesla keeps amazing. All of us and I will keep buying more Tesla stock. Thank you for watching. My name is Matt Posius. I'm a millionaire serial entrepreneur and investor. I will see you in the next video. The next one to watch, if you haven't seen why and how come Tesla bot is already possible, you should watch that video. I did it a few months ago. Another one you should watch if you haven't yet, if this is your first time to the channel, is why I only own Tesla stock. Why would I do such a stupid thing and not diversify? Although I'm sort of diversified with real estate and private businesses I have, but I go into more detail over there as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you there.